But go back. So usually you get in the worst deep waters with black people. Go on.
Yeah, and then I think you feel it. You feel the room. You feel the air leave the room. You're like, all right, now it's like it's just a game of Tetris. It's like this goes here, and you slowly build. And the key isn't to make the audience laugh. The key really is to make the individual laugh that you're in that hole with, because you're like, oh my God, did you just say that to me? And it's like that's how challenging that moment becomes. So for me, I love it. I don't know. That's like the new high for me in comedy, because comedy itself, as you witnessed, to get a laugh is such a high. It's great, right? The bombs are the fucking worst. Those pendulum swings when you're first starting, I always tell people it's like getting Sharpie on your face when you're starting, when you bomb. It's like it's going to stay with you for a while, but eventually it's going to wear off, right?
Yeah.
But then you get so used to it, it's like, fuck, bombing's nothing to me. And then you need something. It's like you got to cut yourself, like, to feel again.
Yeah.
So for me, like the crowd work is like, oh, this is so fun. It's so reinvigorating. And then when you break through and get them to all laugh, but especially you break that person, that's the best feeling in the world. Along with doing jokes that are challenging and all that other stuff. Like this new hour is going to be a lot of fun. But for me, I really love crowd work, and it's helped me become a better comic.
Yeah.
Sometimes do you ever not get out of the hole?
No.
Oh, and it's something that like after
you can figure it out.
After the night's over, you're kind of thinking like, if this happens again, this would have been funny to say, like, here's how I can get myself out of it.
It's always tough when you're like in an argument with somebody.
Yeah.
And they say something to you and you're like, well, whatever, something back. Then like 20 minutes later, you're like, I should have said this.
Right. Or you're driving home, you're like, why did I react that way? Like I could have said this. Or even if it's a joke, if I'm like trying to make somebody laugh and they're not getting it, it's just stone face, and maybe one person might laugh, but nobody else laughs. You're like, all right,
In real life,
that's something I need to work on tonight.
Post-nut clarity of life.
Yeah.
But in real life, I get stumped.
Yeah.
Which is weird. But on stage, it's just like, I don't know what happens. Like I can't get it just like, even if I get stumped for a second, like you were saying, don't you ever get stumped? It's like, I'll put a bookmark in it knowing, okay, use a stock line, get out of it. But the whole time I'm doing something else, I'm still thinking about that other one.
How can I get back to that?
I'm going to get back to it.
Yeah.
I will figure it out. And usually something bubbles up over here and I call it back to over here. And then I tie those two things together and then you get the laugh.
It's super interesting hearing comics talk about comedy, because it's kind of like when you're an individual and you don't get to talk to people like you. Like if you're watching the UFC, you look at it as like, oh, these are just a couple of brutes really just going at it. And then you start learning like, oh, these are technical things. They're doing the guillotine, half guillotine. Like they're playing chess up there. And when it's talking to you, it's kind of like the same thing. Like I'm over here sitting here smiling and laughing.
Right.
But I don't know that you put all this work into it or whatever. We just think, oh, this is a funny guy that comes up here.
That's a good point, because UFC, you get to see all the behind the scenes stuff too. Like you see all the technical side.
And then they talk about like, oh, I had him in half guard, so I knew I had to do this. It's like, yo, they're really thinking about that.
Yeah. I look, even like roasting, like Jeff Ross, the roast master. That's a totally different muscle. It's like, oh, do comedy. Just go do a roast. It's like, that's a skill set. Like, that's really real different skill set. Yeah. Crowd work's a skill set. One-liners are a skill set. Like Bert Kreischer, storytelling, that's a skill set. That not everybody can be that. But when you can do a little bit of both, that's why I try to push myself to be a little bit of both, to be a little more well-rounded.
Yeah.
It's the fucking greatest job in the world.
So going back to like bombing, when you start bombing, like you go to a comedy store or something like that, and you get on stage, what's worse, bombing in front of the crowd or bombing in front of other comics when you're first starting?
Oh, that's a good.
You know what I'm saying? Because part of you, like you're probably thinking to yourself, like, I want these people to be my peers.
Yeah,
I want them. I want
to probably like, oh, we're all trying to be funny in a way.
But like just like anything, there's different personalities. So there's probably some comics that are like, oh, this guy fucking sucks, and there's gonna be other guys that are super helpful that want to come to, hey, you did this and that. Yeah, like you know what I'm saying?
Comics love nothing more than watching other comics bomb.
Really?
It's the fucking greatest. Yeah, because you're just watching them weasel the way out. And then when you're watching it, it's just like, it's the fucking best, because now you're seeing your friend in a puzzle. It's like, is he going to solve the puzzle or not? And when they solve it, it's the best. But my favorite thing are bomb lines. I love when somebody's telling a joke and it sucks. And like Carson was the best, like the old Carson show. He'd literally pull down the boom mic and tap on it, or he'd have a ton of bomb lines. And it's just, again, another like organic way that the comic's living in the moment. And you're seeing how is this individual going to get out of that moment of silence where it's so fucking uncomfortable. God. Nothing's worse than that. But to get the laugh is the best.
The boom light grab is good. That puts everybody back into back into key. Like, okay, we're back in this thing.
Yeah. Bombing, I feel like blood would just rush to my head and I wouldn't like know what to do.
Well, the thing is, like, you've been up there for 5 minutes. And some of your jokes were hilarious. There are a couple like, all right.
You did
Right,
great.
but the one that was like, I didn't really land the
That
plane to do
last
so was the
one.
last one. To where I
Damn,
could
I
just
know
be
it's a
like,
good
all right,
one,
that's all I
too.
got, or whatever I said.
There's
But
a lot
yeah,
of
it was
setup.
nuts.
I remember
There's
that
a lot
night.
of, like,
Yeah.
nervousness.
You helped him a lot with that, right?
Steve helped me punch up with several of my jokes. Like I would come up with the concept or
That
think about
NBA,
it.
that NBA one was the funniest joke.
The NBA one was you too. Was where the way it started was differently. I don't know if it's
gave me
something
this
we should
setup,
talk
and
about.
I was
That would
like,
get you
this
in murky water with black people.
Yeah, something to get you murky with black people. And then I talked with Shane Gillis. He was like, "Let it ride." That's hilarious,
Bro,
But
Shane
you
is
watch
hilarious,
You watch
bro.
Shane's comedy and you see why he's like, "Let it
I mean,
ride."
if you're gonna ask anybody, is this offensive? Like Shane Gillis was like, yeah, do it.
Do it. Fucking let it ride.
And Bert was trying to come up with a player because he was like, you got to personalize it. And then when I talked to you, that was like the great way to kind of personalize it while also like,
Yeah, because you were the
vision in
person
both.
in that joke. It was personalized off of you,
Right,
As
right.
opposed to throwing it to a name, because then all of a sudden you're saying something to somebody who's defenseless. But it's when it's you, it's like, oh, it's fun. If you can take the sting off it, it's great. Like I'll shit on people the whole show, but then I'm shitting on me more than anybody.
Right.
You know, there's a hot girl in front. It's like, relax, stop giving me static. I know you saw me pull up here in a Saturn. It's like all those like dumb bomb lines. Let the audience know I'm no better than anybody here.
Yeah.
So, Asian Elon Musk, all these dumb jokes, that just
And that
put
plays.
myself down. Yeah.
That does play.
That's
So
funny.
stupid.
You got that bank account?
No.
You'd think an Asian Elon Musk would have more money
I
than
have a
Elon
Tesla.
Musk, right?
Yeah, that's a
You'd think
really good
so.
fucking point.
You know?
Mathematician.
You can have that. That one's for you.
You can have one. That one was free.
That one was free. The next one I'm going to send you an invoice.